Good day. You know you did your job right when over 30 years after its release, people can still identify your movie from just how the main protagonist walked. RoboCop was and still is one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. It had a compelling and oddly topical world, an emotional and awesome protagonist, and kick-ass action. And all of that can be found within RoboCop Rogue City.
RoboCop Rogue City was developed by Teon of Terminator Resistance fame and published by Necken on November 2nd, 2023 for the PC, Xbox Series X/S, and PS5. It is a first-person immersive sim. That's right, while it was billed as a first-person shooter, it is so much more than that. There is a lot of shooting in this game, as it is RoboCop, but you also do all the police duties that RoboCop should do. With that in mind, first-person shooting is excellent. You are RoboCop, a walking bloody tank. This game uses the 2010's classic of health bar and healing charges. How many healing charges you carry is dependent upon your level, because remember, immersive sim. You can find the healing charges throughout the various levels, and the game is very fair in letting you heal, but at times it likes to put you through a gauntlet and only spawns a few here and there. Even though you can tank a crap ton of damage, the various hits will add up, and as you progress through the game, the enemies will get progressively better armed. A guy with a Browning high power may not do much damage, but a guy with an M60 pig will. This gives a good balance between power fantasy and challenge. There will be many times throughout the game where you can just wade through countless enemies, and then you'll get times where you really wish that RoboCop could duck. You can sprint, but that only makes Robo move at a slug's pace instead of a snail. You can unlock bullet time and a Doom Eternal dash move as you level up, and they go a long way towards keeping Robo out of the scrap heap. There are other powers you can unlock as well that will make combat more doable on the higher difficulties. You can carry only one extra weapon at one time, and the weapons in the game are pretty good. You have some pistols, a shotty, an AK, and the PTR-91. Never leave the station without it. Your main weapon will be the one, the only, Beretta Auto 9, the second coolest pistol in all of cinema, second only to the DL-44 blaster carried by my boy Han the Man Solo. The Auto 9 sounds right and feels right, and you can level it up like you could the plasma rifles in Terminator Resistance. You can increase fire rate and damage and all that good stuff. Funny thing here is that while you have to reload it, you never run out of ammo. And that's just the first of the little Easter eggs to be found throughout the game. There are numerous enemy types to fight, ranging from the generic thug to the guy with a cast iron pot on his head that makes him immune to headshots. But not crotch shots. You have special enemies that will have powerful weapons. You also got boss fights. Teon did a good enough job with bosses back in Terminator Resistance, but that HK tank that couldn't move was kind of lame. Here, they have completely redeemed themselves. Each boss is a significant challenge, but they give you the tools to defeat each boss. These boss fights and the first-person shooting combat in general really takes me back to the golden age of gaming. Those halcyon days where devs cared about giving the player a good bloody time. And what you got here is a stupendously good first-person shooting system that makes you feel as awesome as Robo in the first and second films. Now, we gotta get to that sweet immersive sim stuff. Teon has proven that they can grow as developers. Terminator Resistance was pretty much just an FPS with a few little RPG and immersive sim elements thrown in here and there. In Robo, oh my god, it's beautiful. You have full RPG integration, you pretty much control what Robo is going to say, and there are skill checks. What you say in the game will matter. And while there is not a full-on morality system, remember that RoboCop has his prime directives. Not those crappy back-bacon films where RoboCop is 4 foot tall, but the good ones. RoboCop has 3 directives to uphold. Serve the public trust, protect the innocent, uphold the law. And man, those are some awesome directives. Now, if only more real LEOs followed those, you can choose to be either a jackbooted statist or a real cop when you interact with the public. And man, does it feel good to actually help people in this game. You can also give people parking tickets, getting all those dark side points there. The game world is structured much like Terminator Resistance. You have some linear levels here and there, but most of the game will take place in large world spaces where you can find numerous quests and side quests to complete. You're given numerous tools to complete your quests. You have a Batman Arkham Asylum style detective vision called RoboVision, but unlike in Batty, you have to level it up, and the higher the level, the more stuff you can detect. There will be some quests where you'll need to gather evidence to solve a crime, and you have an evidence gathering minigame that allows you to pick up clues. You get XP from killing enemies and completing quests and gathering criminal evidence scattered around the game spaces. When you level up, you are given upgrade points. Teon went one step beyond and integrated this very concept of leveling up into the story. No joke, Robo gets a special implant that tracks his progress and assigns a grade. There are a good number of upgrade paths to follow, and you better believe I put a shit ton of points into psychology and engineering. By creating an immersive sim, Teon was able to transition the essence of what RoboCop was into game form. Robo the movie was a drama with all that entails, and that drama just so happened to have some awesome crotch shooting that spiced it up. If Teon just went with first-person shooting, it would have been a damn fine game, but by going many steps beyond that and making it an immersive sim, they have made a modern-day legend, just as the machine god intended. Graphically, the game looks pretty damn good. And Robo is the besto. He has his classic RoboCop 1 paint job. Yeah, I love the blue paint job, but his gray looks more industrial and real, and not like a walking toy. The game looks like the 80s never ended, if only, and fits with the aesthetic design of the original films. And I had a mini nerdgasm when I saw the Chains machine in the arcade. The non-RoboCop 3D models are alright, the guns are 100% okay, and the people look pretty good. The actors from the first film are rendered about as well as the actors from Alien in Alien Isolation. Did I mention this game was made on a non-AAA budget? They did the best they could with the dosh they had on hand, and aside from some wonky facial animation and some non-RoboCop related stiffness, we are on the right side of the uncanny valley. Nothing ever gets too Eurojank to pull you out of the immersion. The first-person reloading animations are pretty bloody smooth, and I love that RoboCop does the reach around when he reloads his AK-74. I gotta say, I like this game a bit more than Starfield, because these little developers from Poland delivered a game that runs. Out of the box, RoboCop Rogue City runs, and runs pretty good. I'm rocking a 4-year-old setup here, and I can play it on epic settings at 1080p at least, and the game still looks damn good at that setting, and I'm getting about 50 to 60 FPS with a few slowdowns here and there. Oh, and you can swap between keyboard and mouse on the fly, and the game controls pretty damn good with a controller. Sound is only alright. This is where most of the Eurojank comes in, as some of the sounds are at wildly different volumes. Case in point, if you blast a guy from across the map in the head, it sounds like he's blowing up right next to your ear. And the mix with the explosions is a little off. Funny thing, you can turn down the Robo feet noise. For me, I crank that up, cause damn do it sound good. Music was done pretty well. You got a new tragic sounding version of the RoboCop theme. All the battle music gets you ready for crotch blasting. None of the tracks transcend the game, but what is there works. I'm not gonna ding this little developer from Poland's music because RoboCop 1 had musical legend Basil Podorius do the OST, and I'm not going to expect them to measure up to that. Voice acting has a little Eurojank for some of the villains and side characters, but is nowhere near, shall we say, Resident Evil quality. The only jarring thing is the recast for original characters. Ann Lewis sounds off, as does Sergeant Reed. The worst offender is the old man, aka King Bastard of the OCP. He now sounds like he is from Australia or something. The standout voice actor is, of course, the man, the myth, the Peter Weller. What sold RoboCop in the old days was how much soul Peter Weller put into his performance. The Robo suit was, and is, a thing of beauty. It's standout as all the other elements from that first film, and has been one of the major factors that kept the franchise in popular consciousness, even during some of its dormant years. Hell, that suit was used to sell fried chicken on 2 bloody continents! And it also sold ramen in Japan. But you take away that suit, and what do you have? A tragic figure that has been brought back from death to protect the innocent from the depredations of the criminal. And unlike with whiny big booty rebooty, RoboCop does not whine about, why why do I still live? He gets to bloody work and doesn't complain. It's thanks to the amazing work of Peter Weller that RoboCop becomes more than a metal shell, and he brings his A-game to this game. He can go from crackin' wise to super emotional. I'm gonna jump the gun a little bit here and move straight to the story segment. There's a moment where RoboCop mans the front desk, and you have to tell a worried mother that her son was found dead, and Mr. Weller sells it. This is a game where you can be blasting crotches left and right, and then BAM! The game hits you right in the bloody feels, and it's thanks to Mr. Weller's talent that RoboCop can be both crotch blaster extraordinaire and real human being. So, story. It's American Jesus, at least according to director Paul Verhoeven. Not sure if we need to be that hyperbolic, Mr. Verhoeven. What RoboCop is, by my estimation at least, is a superhero story. Media perception, both past and present, has labeled superhero content kids stuff. Anyone who follows superhero comics with any degree of regularity knows that's not really the case, as comics from just about any era prior to the 2000s can have both silliness and seriousness, and in my personal estimation, the best era for comics was the Bronze Age. It was a time that encompassed the 1970s and the 1980s and a little bit of the 1990s. You had colorful costume crusaders fighting crime, but also dealing with real-world issues. You had enough stylization to be fun, but with enough realism to not be stupid. And RoboCop the film was very much a Bronze Age story. You had the fun, I'll buy that for $1, and crotch shooting, combined with deep emotional storytelling and tragedy. And the combination of all these elements worked and sold a shit ton of comics and made some of the most memorable characters of all time. RoboCop Rogue City follows this concept to a T, ladies and gentlemen. You got some fun and colorful villains that you can take down, and then you have to watch a VHS tape where one of your fellow peace officers gets tortured. And to twist that knife further, in a previous level, you guide his kid away from crime, and now have to tell his kid that his father ain't coming back. It's that dichotomy that makes this game so much fun to play. It's fun where it needs to be, and harsh where it should be. You play as RoboCop, a lawful good paragon that, along with the lawful good paragons of the Detroit PD, try and stem the tide of lawlessness in an increasingly insane world. You know, could Robo and his boys, like, transition from their world to ours? Because we could sure use them right about now. This game takes place in the RoboCop film continuity and is set between the events of RoboCop 2 and the abominable RoboCop 3, and features Robo going up against the fell forces of the New Guy. Yes, that's what the new villain of the game is called in the early part of the game. The game features RoboCop dealing with his humanity. RoboCop is the resurrected form of police officer Alex J. Murphy. Murphy was blasted by some thugs, and due to some shitty dealings, Omni Consumer Products, a giant megacorp, got access to his corpse and used a bit of Alex Murphy's brain and a brain-machine interface to build RoboCop, a 24-hour crime prevention unit. In short, they made a Warhammer 40k servitor. Compliance. And part of RoboCop's greatness is how Alex Murphy's soul is able to overcome the soulless corporate artifice that brought him back to life. He is such a good cop because he is human despite being a machine. It is a great bit of writing and ensures that RoboCop will never be obsolete. The world of RoboCop is a corporate hellscape. Everyone is out of work and crime is rampant, but enough about 2023, let's get back to the game. It's a world that was once a satire, but now is kind of a reality. So it's supposed to be this kind of goofy world with all kinds of crazy crap going on. But RoboCop and his boys are the last sane men and women fighting for truth, justice, in the American way. The real one! The world feels fully lived in, and thankfully, like what we got in the Bronze Age, people treat Robo accordingly. He is never belittled by his friends and allies, and when you hit the streets, the perps hate him, but the civvies love him. And there is a scene where you try to get some info from a kid, and the kid straight up says, yeah, you might look big and bad, but he knows RoboCop don't hurt kids. Damn good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. The story never gets edgy or dark for the sake of dark, and the stakes keep ramping up as you play, and you have a good balance between crazy crap and emotional introspection. This game feels a lot like what a RoboCop TV show should have been. It expands on what was seen in the movies in a way a movie couldn't. Yeah, that was a RoboCop TV show, and say it with me now, it was god bloody awful. This game, on the other hand, delivers the RoboCop experience we have all been dreaming of. If you happen to have never heard of RoboCop before, definitely check out the first 2 movies and then give this game a try, as it is an experience worth having. And if you are a RoboCop veteran, Murphy's back, and he's bringing all the good stuff.
And that's your lot, ladies and gentlemen. The game has only been out for less than a month, so I don't really want to inadvertently spoil anything, as this is the ultimate RoboCop experience. I am GeneralLotz, and I'm going to wish you good RoboCop 1, presented by Data East, and RoboCop 2, presented by Data East. Whatever makes you happy.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and please consider leaving a like or a comment, as the algorithm desires your soul. And I want to thank all those fans who have supported this channel, both past and present.